The protagonist's motivations in the second season premiere of Silo revolve around their yearning for independence and their determination to achieve the seemingly impossible. Judge Mary Meadows gets hellbent on discovering the secrets of the silo after she becomes envious of Juliet Nichols' ability to survive and view the outside world. A mutiny breaks out in Silo 17 as word gets out about the defective suits and doctored footage, and more cleaners miss cleaning the cameras. The lone survivor of Silo 17, Solo, describes the terrible events that transpired when the inhabitants tried to flee, thinking the outside world was safe, but were killed by the toxic air. A comparable uprising could happen in Jules' silo, and she decides to go back to stop it. Nevertheless, there are obstacles in her way, such as flooded tunnels and the necessity of a specific suit to endure the dangerous circumstances. Meadows and Bernard, the head of it, had disagreements due to Bernard's difficulty to adapt and improvise. Curious about Juliet's destiny and the manipulation of information, she seeks evidence to face Bernard, whom she suspects of lying. With Bernard's assistance, Meadows intends to surreptitiously escape in a suit, as her yearning to go outdoors grows, potentially as a result of a terminal disease. Bernard's colleague strikes a bargain with a prisoner in order to spark a revolt in Mechanical. This leads to a violent incident which, in turn, kills Cooper and has far-reaching consequences for KNX and Shirley Pete. Jules's dad disobeys the authority over reproduction by removing a woman's birth control device. In the third episode of Silo Season 2, Juliet first approaches Solo for assistance, but he stubbornly refuses to leave his vault. Juliet finally gives up and walks away after attempting to persuade him to go. At that moment, Solo emerges from his vault and cries out, Don't go!" After living alone for what seems like an eternity, Solo is desperate for human connection, and the terror in his voice is a clear indication of that. Even though Juliet sees corpses outside his vault, it's clear that he hasn't spoken to anyone in years. At first, Solo is cold and untrusting toward Juliet, but he too begins to warm up to her. In the third episode of Season 2, he learns that Juliet is innocent and wants nothing more than to go back to her own silence. Since he craves companionship, he emerges from the vault to accompany Juliet on her journey when she chooses to continue on her own. In the corridor outside Solo's vault, Juliet finds several corpses that don't appear to be as old as the rest. He dismisses her inquiries and closes the peephole in his door. When she confronts him about it, although the identities of the bodies and Solo's motivations for killing them remain unknown, it is possible that they were sent by the Silo's Hups to eliminate Solo, the only survivor of Silo 17, after the deaths of everyone else in Solo's silo. The authorities likely gave up hope for Silo 17, turning Solo into an awkward outlier in an effort to wipe the slate clean. In Silo 17, the authorities dispatched assassins to eliminate Solo. Nevertheless, it appears that Solo protected himself by eliminating them before their capture. Since this is the case, we can understand why Solo acts defensively. In the first episode of Silo Season 2, when he meets Juliet, he expresses his anxiety that she may be one of the individuals hired to assassinate him by threatening to kill her if she attempts to open his vault door. Solo recounts to Juliet the tale of Ron Tucker when she questions him about what transpired in his silo. Ron Tucker was dispatched to clean, as he remembers, but he probably saw through the deception produced by his suit's helmet, so he disobeyed the cleanliness rule, just like Juliet. The individual apparently made it outdoors and walked past the hill that surrounds Silo 17. As stated by Solo, many at Silo 17 were persuaded by his escape story that the outside world was safe for mankind. Consequently, a large number of individuals began to defy the silo's rulers in an effort to escape and ultimately perish. Juliet comes to the realization that the inhabitants of Silo, May 18th, have shared her assumption that the outside world is secure. After discovering the similarity between her cleaning event and Ron Tucker's, she is worried that the residents of Silo 18 will rebel against the government and seek freedom outside only to meet the same fate as those in Silo 17. Following Judge Meadows' assistance in putting out the impending revolt, Bernard endeavors to fulfill his vow to let her depart Silo 18. He informs her that he plans to remove her from the silo covertly by turning off the screen's projection so no one else finds out. Additionally, he promises to turn on the projection again once she has crossed the hill and is no longer visible to the camera. Bernard also measures her so that the supply crew may make her a custom suit. To think that Bernard is so casually releasing her is unbelievable. If Bernard gets her a faulty suit or uses low-quality tape to protect its edges, she can bet that he will betray her. Unless Meadows follows Juliet's lead and breaches a nearby silo before she runs out of air, she has little chance of surviving even if she gets beyond the hill outside of Silo 18. Because Bernard watched the footage on the hard drive Juliet had gotten, he wants to put Patrick Kennedy on a drug that erases memories. As Bernard tells Sims, Kennedy embraces his suggestion with open arms, and he begs Kennedy to wipe his memory of his wife's death from his mind so that he may finally move on from his pain. The way Sims mentions the memory-erasing medicine in passing implies that it has been used in the silo previously. It may provide light on why the inhabitants of the silo have become so oblivious to the outside world that they have become unable to identify birds. Even while Juliet's mother and other flame keepers began to doubt Silo 18's authorities in Season 1. The medication may also explain why the silo inhabitants have almost no recollection of a previous uprising. To keep the silo's inhabitants submissive and obedient, the drug might even be poisoned into the water supply.